Hello, everybody. Welcome to End Times Talk. I hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to talk about something today. The whole Hantavirus thing has been on my mind, and just a lot of strange things with that. It's said that with the people that took the jab, uh, you know, some of those are placebos. Okay, so I don't want to just speak over somebody and speak bad over somebody because there was a lot of people that were tricked into getting that thing, and a lot of people that were manipulated and also pressured into getting that thing by family and friends. And I mean, I had people, trying. They didn't succeed, but they tried to pressure me into getting it, like my neighbors and things like that. And just was really weird that whole time. But it's said that in some of these jabs, not all of them, there is lipid nanoparticles that have almost like a I don't know, uh, it's like a coating that exists around these the lipid nanoparticles. And it's said that with a certain frequency that can be sent out via the 5G towers, that it can unlock something that was recently or that was present there that wasn't active. Like, and it basically like removes that coding, or I can't remember how they were saying that it works, to be honest with you, but I remember learning about it during the pandemic. And I think it's pretty um common knowledge. I'm just probably saying it wrong, botching it terribly, but I find it interesting that if you pull up and this is from a colorado.gov website here. Okay, so you can see, and if you zoom in, um the hantavirus pulmonary infection is a part of the side effects that are part of the whole jab. You know what I mean? And I start to wonder if um yeah, it was really weird. I had a really weird internet connection too, Haley. I had the same issue as I was connecting. I just pray in Jesus' name that everything is a-okay. Anyway, so is the hantavirus one of those things that was within the lipid nanoparticles? I don't know. It's just something that come to mind, but I find it very interesting that all this talk about the hantavirus and the one of the side effects of you know a jab is hantavirus pulmonary infection. Well, I thought hantavirus comes from mouse or rat urine or feces. I thought that's where it comes from. So okay, did they take a infected rat and extract its urine and fecal matter and put that into the jabby jabby? I don't think so. I don't think that's what it is. I think we're looking at a bioengineered, genetically modified, gain of function situation. If this is what it could be, what it seems to be brewing, a lot of similarities to the COVID-19 pandemic and how that all came about. Um, th- I just find it really strange that this would be in um, the side effects for the COVID-19 jabby jabby. And it's right there, right in black and white, hantavirus pulmonary infection. So, with that being said, give me a moment here. I want to show you this video. And if you look, the people on the bus, they're all wearing masks. They're in biosuits. And look at these people with the door open to the bus. With the door open, you can see the door open in the background of this video, okay? And it looks like this dude, I mean, he's smiling, and it looks like this photo op, he's kind of smiling. He's smiling a little bit, looking real smug right there. And let's just watch this for a moment here. And then they just shut the door to the bus. Just the weirdest stuff. This dude's looking real smug and smiley too. You'd think that if you're dealing with people that are sick, you know what I mean, and they're struggling, that you'd be a little bit more serious about it. I mean, like, it looks like everybody's got a smile on their face. And the door of the bus is open, and I'm gonna debate a couple of things here that they're telling us. So one of the things they're telling us is that it takes a long time being next to somebody in close contact to catch this thing. If this is real, okay, we're just gonna hypothesize here, like this, if this is even real, if this is actually what it is, and not just some psyop to get us used to this sort of thing happening, and then one day they actually release something and nobody believes it, you know, which I do believe is coming. I think there is a viral pandemic coming eventually. They've told us they're going to do it. I've shown you the videos. I mean, just real quick, you know, right off the top of the bat here, 12 seconds. Here's this.
So we, you know, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, you know, I'd say is will get attention this time.
Because of the level of what they have planned for a lockdown, I think it's going to garner much, much more attention. All right, so just this is the weirdest crap, if you ask me. These people literally feet from this bus where the Hantavirus is at, no precautions whatsoever. Actually, believe it or not, think about this group of people being the distance from these guys to these guys, right? So here's the first guy that I can see that's you know, been exposed to Hantavirus, and here's the two bus drivers in complete bio garb. Okay, they're the same distance from this door to these people. If you think about that, they're no further away, and these guys are dressed like that. These guys got no masks on, walking around. Must have been right next to these people. It seems like some staged baloney, if you ask me. And this person put a video down here, which I thought was relatively interesting. Check this one out. Actually, I'm going to mute the music here because I don't want to. But look, the driver of one of the buses isn't even wearing nothing. I mean, they're taking their masks off. No gloves going into it. I mean, look at this right here. This dude in biosuit, this dude doesn't have nothing on. Yeah, just crazy stuff, man. This is what I was just showing you. So, I mean, really shady information, if you ask me. All right. Yeah, and if it was real, yeah, they'd absolutely be in full face mask, you know, and hazmat suits and all of that. All right. Now, I want to show you this one here. Hold on a second. Excuse me. All right, I'm going to play this here.
And we're starting with a Fox News alert. A group of American passengers from the cruise ship that's linked to the deadly Hantavirus outbreak, they have landed back here in the United States.
So they're now being taken to the National Quarantine Center in Omaha, where they're going to...
Real quick, I really have to stress, it's the National Quarantine Center, okay?
Be monitored for symptoms.
Alex
To be monitored for symptoms.
Hogan joins us with the latest on this story. Hey, Alex. Hi, Lawrence, Brian, and Ainsley. So as these travelers make their way to homes in countries, more than 20 countries around the world, their respective medical teams are addressing how to contain the virus. As of this morning, a French passenger and American passenger have tested positive.
So new people. So we're up to, they said 7 before, but it was 8 to my count. And I'm just going to go by my count because I don't believe a damn word they say. So I would think that we're at about 10 people confirmed sick now is what it is, 10, but they're lacking 1 behind.
Another American currently has mild symptoms. These 17 Americans are now back on U.S. soil as of this morning. 2 of them traveled in the plane's biocontainment unit. Each individual will undergo clinical assessment and receive care based on their conditions. That's according to the Department of Health and Human Services. And if you're thinking this all feels like 2020 all over again.
You see how they all put that in there? And here's the thing. We've had a few, we'll call them pandemic scares. You know what I mean? Where, they made it seem like, oh, this is the big one, and then nothing. And they didn't cover it and say things on the news like that. All right. They weren't saying that sort of stuff. Like, I know this looks like 2020 again, right? I'm just putting that out there. I'm going to play that again.
Services. And if you're thinking this all feels like 2020 all over again, doctors address those concerns.
We have a team on the ground that's going to help these 17 Americans, bring them back to a facility in Nebraska. We're going to have them isolate for you can hear him stuttering. Like, I just want to pull that back a moment here. We're going to have them isolate for about 42 days.
All right, I'm going to point something out here, too. I'm going somewhere with this. I want you to really pay attention to how he's behaving when he says we're going to have them isolate for blah, 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 42 days, right? Listen to it again.
Nebraska. We're going to have them isolate for about 42 days. That's what the literature says. We've handled.
That's what the literature says.
To the American people is, please don't worry. This is not one of those things like COVID where there's 15 different alarm bells.
Currently, there are 6 states monitoring people who have traveled on that ship recently. The passengers who disembarked yesterday in the Spanish Canary Islands were sprayed with a disinfectant. They were met with personnel that you can see there in this footage with full hazmat gear. Experts believe that the initial infection happened before passengers began the trip at the beginning of April in Argentina, likely from rodent exposure during a land excursion in Patagonia. The hantavirus is contracted typically with contact of rodent urine, feces, or saliva, and 3 people have died since this outbreak began.
And the Andes version of this, the Andes strain, is the one that can go person to person, they're saying. But what they're saying and what the I don't and it's weird. Fox News reports stuff that's not even accurate, and I'm going to show you some odd stuff here in a moment. But they say that the first person that got it was bird watching at a landfill. Why would you? And I get birds that come in to feed and all that stuff, but wow, what a beautiful, scenery to check out the birds at a landfill. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? You're going to go to the woods, somewhere beautiful with a nice wooden deck and, all the comforts of home, but there's the woods out in front of you, and take your time and look at all the beauty and search in the trees. That's part of the fun of bird watching. I like bird watching. You know what I mean? But a landfill? Really? And I want to point this out. It says right here, 17 U.S. passengers are headed to Omaha, Nebraska, where they'll spend 42 days in quarantine as doctors urge the public not to spiral into COVID-style panic. That's weird. It's like they're telling you don't do it so that way people start to spiral into panic. Even my son, he's not really a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. And I understand that. As long as you believe in Jesus, it's, at some level, I'm okay with you. You know what I mean? But like my son, come over and was like, you hear about the Hantavirus, Dad? And, because he came over for to hang out with my, his mom for Mother's Day. which, happy Mother's Day, belated Mother's Day to all the mothers, by the way. I just didn't feel like being live. Wanted to spend time with my wife and have good memories about my mom. And anyways, I just find it odd, and I'm going to point something out here. I'm going to point something really important out here, but I want to emphasize they are saying that these people are going to spend 42 days in quarantine in Omaha, Nebraska. All right. I want to make that absolutely crystal clear before I move on with this video. And I'll even blow this up that they're saying 17 U.S. passengers are headed to Omaha, Nebraska, where they'll spend 42 days in quarantine. All right. Now that is taken care of. Okay. I want to show this newer one, and I'm going to point something out because this is where it starts to get interesting. Just in, 2 passengers from the MV Hantavirus cruise ship who have been exposed to the deadly Hantavirus outbreak, which is funny. Here's the thing. I want to point something out too, which is funny because the kill rate, the average kill rate, if you had to specify it, okay, is 33%. And I want to show you something here real quick. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner where it mentions Hantavirus, pulmonary infection on the page there for the side effects for the COVID-19 jabby, on page 33, it's page 33, there's the Hantavirus pulmonary infection as a side effect of the COVID-19 jabby. Then you have a 33% kill rate, and then there's 33 passengers at one point that were sick. They really emphasized that. There's that 3 all throughout this stuff, which is really odd to me, which is Masonic. That's a Masonic number. Okay. In the Masons and the Illuminati that organizes themselves at the top of Freemasonry, which is at the 33rd degree, the 30th, 31st, 32nd, 33rd degrees. They're the ones that are calling the shots. And they make it seem like there's some small group of elite. Man, the Freemasons are everywhere. They are everywhere. In your town, probably too. You probably have a Masonic lodge right near you. If the Illuminati are in your area, that is where they are at that Masonic lodge. I promise you that. I promise. Anyways, so I want to point out, it says that the passengers are reportedly being transported to Emory University Hospital, as health officials say both are asymptomatic and are following guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Well, I don't hear anything about a quarantine, and this is a whole nother plane. This is just 2 different passengers. This isn't the whole enchilada, all 17 of them being taken to Nebraska. So I think that we're starting to come to something here, but I'll just play this for the sake of it. So this is in Atlanta. So they're not taking all of them to Omaha, Nebraska for 42 days. So Fox News is lying to us either then or now. Or they don't know their hand from their keister. But nonetheless, the information isn't matching up, and I'm going to point something out here in a moment. And, again, you have people in biosuits and then all these people standing around with nothing on. And they got the medical emergency vehicles right there for transport, 2 of them or whatever. And they got this guy up here sterilizing the staircase, but you got these people back here with nothing on. Once again, nothing on. But the other one, remember the other one they were showing us at the in the other video? Everybody was wearing full bio gear, spraying stuff down. Everybody, their suits were getting sprayed down. All of that stuff. None of this is lining up. And so there was 17 Americans plus one British citizen that lives in the U.S. that were evacuated from the ship in Tenerife, Spain, on a U.S. government medical repatriation flight. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And they landed today, early this morning, at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska. Well, here's the thing. 5 hours later, we have these people showing up in Atlanta that are confirmed sick. And this one, they were taken, but these people in Nebraska were taken to the National Quarantine Unit. You'd think they'd be being quarantined, right? At the University of Nebraska's Medical Center, which is a specialized biocontainment facility. So why would you be taking them there if you're not going to quarantine them there? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm about to show you some more. The CDC told reporters on Saturday, listen to this, ready? We are not quarantining anybody. The Nebraska stop is supposed to be for assessment and risk evaluation only, but Fox News is telling us that they're quarantining for 42 days. Listen to this. There's no mandatory isolation. After evaluation, passengers can choose to go home immediately. If they go home, and if so, I'm not saying this is something. I'm saying if it is something, listen to this. If they go home, they follow self-monitoring for the full 42-day period after their last possible exposure. Daily temperature checks, watching for symptoms like fever, fatigue, muscle aches, or shortness of breath. And they're supposed to stay in touch with the state and local health department. And the high-risk close contacts have the option of staying at the Nebraska facility or doing home-based monitoring. It is not required, and they don't even need to stay at home. They can't force them to stay at home. Hold on one second. I'm going somewhere with this here. God bless cold water during arrival. I'll tell you. So, there is this new document that's come out, the Andes Virus Public Health Guidance, that was released yesterday. Okay. And I want to show that to you now. So give me a moment here. So here is the PDF for the interim, which means very temporary. This is what we know right now, information. Okay. Oh, we're going somewhere with this. Interim guidance for public health assessment and management of people with potential exposure to Andes virus. See, now they're already sudden changing it. It's not Hantavirus anymore. It's Andes virus because it is the Andes strain. But you see how they went from coronavirus to COVID-19? Just putting that out there. Okay. And the purpose of the document is to support health departments in managing individuals. Why would you need that? More than one health department in managing individuals who have experienced a potential exposure associated with the MV Andes virus outbreak. That it's funny, the terminology they're using is like this is spreading, and they're just not telling us that. Andes virus is a type of hantavirus and the only type that is known to spread person to person. And it's only supposed to be in one part of the world. You know what I mean? Like this isn't supposed to be some widespread thing. Confirmed case, laboratory confirmation of hantavirus by PCR. There you go. Probable case, fatal. Let me make sure that this is as big as. Okay, all right. Making sure that's as big as possible. Confirmed case, laboratory confirmation of hantavirus by PCR. Probable case, fatal illness and compatible with hantavirus in an individual who has had contact with the suspect, probable or confirmed hantavirus case within the previous 42 days without test results. And here's the funny thing. They keep saying 42 days, 42 days, 42 days. I thought it was 1 to 8 weeks. I was telling you this yesterday, that the incubation period for this virus is 1 to 8 weeks. It's usually 2 weeks, they say, but it can be up to 8 weeks. So why would you tell someone to isolate for 42 days if they had a virus that can spread really fast And oh, we're going to get into how fast it can spread here in a moment because we're all being lied to. All right. They don't expect you to read into nothing. All right. Exposure. Listen to this. Any of the following being aboard the MV Hondias at any time from April 6th through the date of disembarkation of the exposed passenger cohort. Listen to this. Listen to this. Being within approximately 6 feet of an asymptomatic case patient in an enclosed space for a cumulative duration of 15 minutes. 15 minutes. You know how many times I've heard them come out and say that you have to be around someone for a long extended period of time for you to even get this thing. They're really playing it down, right? But in the CDC's own white papers, the interim guide that they're putting in place right now, this is what we know so far. We're being told if you're around someone for 15 minutes, if you're around for 15 minutes, you can catch whatever this is. And I don't believe it's Hantavirus. If it is something, I don't believe it's Hanta because it isn't doing what Hanta does, and it isn't spreading the way Hanta spreads. This is something completely different, and a monkey could see this. A monkey could see that. Something ain't right here. Not to mention, they mentioned the Hantavirus on The Simpsons and the X-Files. And I'm not going to show those clips to you today, but I promise you that they are alive and well out there on the internet for you to go find and see where, The Simpsons predicted the Hantavirus, and even in the X-Files predicted the Hantavirus. And I showed you that one guy, that soothsayer guy over on X, that back in I think it was 2021, he mentions, COVID-19. And then he said 2026 Hantavirus. So I think they're putting out there their plans if this ends up being something. But right here you see that exposure counts as 15 minutes within 6 feet of somebody. I think that they were about 6 feet from that door of that bus, and they weren't wearing jack diddly squat on to keep themselves safe if this is a real thing. So it's either not real and they're not taking it seriously, or it is real and they want it to spread. Because this has been, I'll be honest with you, for such a serious situation as COVID-19, you'd think that they had learned a little bit about containing a pandemic or an outbreak of some kind. But it seems to me that they didn't learn jack diddly shit about it. And so that bugs me. I feel that we're being lied to here. They're saying that, listen to this, a high-risk contact definition counts as being aboard the MV Hondias at any time from April 6th through the date of disembarkation of the exposed passenger cohort is considered high risk due to likelihood of prolonged close contact among passengers and crew, shared living spaces, and the potential for recall bias when assessing exposures and symptom onset, or answering yes to any of the exposure questions in section 1.2 of the questionnaire, blah, blah, blah. All right, then they go through low risk contact. It kind of goes through this information. I'll let you read that on your own. But if we go down here, listen to this. High risk contacts, okay? High risk contacts right here have the option for home-based management. So right there from the CDC, Fox News is lying to you, telling you that there's going to be a 42-day quarantine in Nebraska. It says, i.e. monitoring with modified activities or facility-based management at the National Quarantine Unit in Nebraska or a location identified by a health department of jurisdiction. So they're not making them do anything. And if this was as bad as they're acting like it is, you'd think that they'd take precautions to keep the public safe. If home-based management is preferred, the health department should coordinate with the high-risk contact to assess their capacity to follow public health directions. that the individual should have a suitable home environment with access to a designated space in the home to isolate away from others immediately if symptoms develop. So even while they're not having symptoms, let's just put this out here. I'm going to do something real quick here. I'm putting up a simple question here. And they're even putting it out there like, yeah, hantavirus can be contagious without symptoms. And on this, they're saying that, you can be at home being around your family members, but as soon as you have any symptoms, you need to isolate immediately away from others if symptoms develop. Ideally with access to a private bathroom for the duration of the monitoring period. Health departments should identify a hospital with capacity to isolate patients. See, they're acting like this thing is going to spread already. The stuff that's in this is like wording that almost seems to me like they're preparing for a spread. To provide critical care, including extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. Goodness gracious. CDC can provide technical assistance as needed. So, I mean, health departments should regularly monitor low-risk contacts and advise them to self-monitor for fever and symptoms daily for 42 days after the last known exposure. See, isn't it funny? Like last time, it was 2 weeks. You gotta isolate and quarantine for 2 weeks. And even though you could be contagious without symptoms, they make it seem like that 2 weeks matters. And people still got sick. You know what I mean? Being around other people with whatever they had, whether it was the flu or whatever, I don't care. They can call it COVID-19. They can call it the flu. They can call it this. They can call it that. But they just everything was COVID-19 back then. And so, but it's weird that they already have this fixed number when we know and have investigated that it takes 1 to 8 weeks to incubate within somebody after close contact. And they literally tell you when you search this stuff out, oh, it takes a lot. You have to be around somebody for an extended period of time, you know what I mean, to get this thing. But on this document, they're telling us 15 minutes within 6 feet. You don't even have to be right next to them. You need to stand next to someone for 15 minutes, like in a grocery, going and getting groceries at the store. You're in the, someone ahead of you's got a packed cart. You're waiting for them to rush through. Someone walks up behind you with Hanta. You're standing in, the thing there for 15 more minutes. You can get that now. You see what I'm saying? If this is a real thing. Now, I'm praying to God that it's not a real thing. But, I mean, they've already got the exposure assessment questionnaire and all this stuff. If this is something that's contained and they have it all figured out and they know who's who and what's what, and they're saying, oh, we got this under control, we got that under control, why the questionnaire and why is this being released to the public? You have to ask yourself why. It doesn't make sense. Now, it couldn't be that, this has anything to do with the hantavirus, but let me put this out here, right? But then there's another ship. Over 100 people have been affected by a quote-unquote norovirus outbreak aboard the Caribbean Princess cruise on a voyage that started in late April. A CDC report says 102 of 3,116 passengers. There you go, 3.3%. There's the 33. Okay, there's the 33. 3.3% so far. And 13 of 1,131, all right, crew members, which is 1.2%, were reported ill with symptoms including diarrhea and vomiting. The outbreak was reported to the CDC on May 7th. So just a couple of days ago. Princess Cruises says a limited number of individuals reported mild gastrointestinal illness, and it could have been from bad seafood or whatever. They quickly disinfected every area on the ship and added extra sanitizing throughout. But this is just something else to pay attention to. It just seems like there's this weird stuff going around, and these sort of sicknesses in springtime, the way that it is, it shouldn't be happening. This isn't flu season right now. It's just weird. So I don't know what to make out of all this. I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. I'm not trying to say that this is the end of the world. I'm trying to say I don't trust what they're saying. It doesn't match up with what they're telling us in the news. The CDC doesn't match up with what Fox News is saying. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, what I kind of think and the way where I lean with all this is that they're working towards coming at us with a bunch of stuff. And they're putting a bunch of irons into the fire to see which one's going to work best, which one they can heat up the most and use it against us to brand the public, if you will. All right. And get in preparation for Agenda 2030. They have everything else already set up. They're working hard on it, man. They're working so hard and diligently to make this thing happen. And I tell you, it's not about how, it's about the end game that comes from all this. But they, again, I believe are preparing something really, really big. And I really hope people are staying, you know, in prayer and focusing on Jesus and not allowing fear to take root in their lives. But we have to be educated. We have to know what's going on. We have to proactively look at things and say, hey, look, this is going on. You know, I don't want something to happen, all of the information get cut off, and then you're in the dark and you don't know what's going on. I'd rather know what's going on. I'd rather pay attention. And most people who come to my channel feel the same way. You get people that come to my channel and they'll say something like, oh, you just only focus on the bad things. Well, here's the thing. All right. The name says it all. You know, you figure when you click on a channel that's called End Times Talk, it's going to talk about the end times, right? So it's pretty clear. So I want people to know I'm not out here trying to be a doom and gloomer or only spread fear, things like that. What I'm trying to do is spread information that could help save lives, get us to the finish line. If people are prepared and people are aware, then, you know, they stand a better chance. And I want people to be alive. I want to see as many people that are alive and waiting for Jesus Christ when he comes get caught up in the rapture. That's one of my goals. And you know, and I don't know when that's going to happen, but I do know that if people are aware, they can stay safe. They can wash their hands more often and not touch their face. That's about all you can do with this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Unless you want to walk around like you're looking like you just come out of the movie Outbreak with the monkeys. You know what I mean? Like with, you know, a yellow bio suit and all that stuff, and or a BNC mask, you know. And you can't, you know, really mask up against this stuff. Those masks don't work. You have to have a biological, nuclear, or chemical mask, which is like a grade of gas mask. And those filters are awfully expensive. So just putting that out there. And I agree, it's going to be a lot like The Stand. In the movie The Stand, and the movie and the TV show The Strain, these are viruses and contagions that bring about the emergence of the Antichrist. And that's what I find kind of funny, is that that's a parallel that we've seen in propaganda that the Illuminati pushes out there as to, you know, how you know, the agenda that they're going to bring about to be able to make this thing happen, to have enough chaos to bring about a global order. And I believe that, you know, they have to get the world under their thumb in a proper amount of time, because if they don't, then Agenda 2030 isn't going to happen for them. So I really pray that people are paying attention, you know, and we don't have to, you know, look at these things like, oh, this is absolutely going to happen. But knowing about it, you can take precautions. That's all. I mean, that's really all you can do, and pray about it most of all. That's what I want to do, is pray, you know, and letting people know people can pray about it. And I think we can swerve and avoid things unnecessarily that we don't have to experience. unless we just let it go willy-nilly and say the enemy's going to do what he's going to do. Prophecy does have to be fulfilled. There are things that do have to take place. These things have to happen in order for the end to come. The end is near. The end is nigh, they say. But don't worry about it and don't fear it. Just, I'll be honest with you, I don't embrace it in a weird way, like, oh, I want it to happen, but I embrace what's going on and I don't let it affect my day. You know what I mean? And I'd love to see other people get to that point. I've been watching this stuff for so long that's like, whatever happens, happens. It's all in God's hand. But hey, thanks for the information, pal. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? And so I really hope people are, understanding that these things, yeah, they're going on, yeah, they're taking place. There's a lot of psychological operations happening. People don't know what's real from fiction anymore. And Obama even said that. He's like, we have to flood a public square with enough raw sewage, with enough conspiracy theorizing that people will no longer know what to believe when they lose their trust in their politicians and the establishment and each other, and the possibility of truth. The game's been won. And so this is a huge psychological operation that they're working on in order to help bring about the emergence of the Antichrist. It's all inching us towards, the emergence of the Antichrist. And so people need to understand that that's all in God's hands. So anyways, with that being said, I appreciate you all so much, and I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Stay close to Jesus and keep watching, and just know that this stuff might be going on, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily the worst case scenario. But be paying close attention. If you have something to add to what I showed today about the Hantavirus, feel free. You can email me at endtimestalk777@gmail.com and give me like a little brief synopsis of what you're trying to show me, so that way I know, because I don't have time to watch hours and hours of footage. So if you do have something to add to what I said today that's kind of fishy about all this, let me know, and maybe I'll share it next live. So with that being said, may God bless you all. May he keep you. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.